Hello, good evening and welcome to Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. It is live from our studio here at Adisanwe Kanda in Accra and also live around the world on 3news.com. My name is Martin Asiedu-Dartey. Coming up this evening, heated debate erupts in Parliament over reintroduction of the anti-LGBTQ bill. We will be live on the ground to give you an update of how the debate is going. And later in the bulletin, we'll bring you stories on flooding situation where as the flooding worsens in Accra and Cape Coast, we are told the highway is becoming a major death trap. So the minority is demanding the summoning of a Works and Housing Minister to give them answers regarding how the situation could be resolved. And also, we have updates on the situation in communities affected along the Weija Dam spillage. Details of all of these and more, but before that, let's bring you the news summaries with yours truly, former Ghana most beautiful queen, Safo Abuahin. Please give us the summary.
Thank you, Martin, and welcome to the news summary segment. To our first story now, and over 100 homes have been submerged following a spillage from the Weija Dam, leaving residents in parts of Weija and Tetegu calling for urgent government intervention as floodwaters continue to devastate the area. Schools and businesses in communities including Tetegu, Oblogo and parts of Weija have been shut down as floodwaters inundated homes and submerged roads, leaving some areas accessible only by canoe. To our second story, a 15-year-old boy who was kidnapped in the northern region was shot in the jaw by his abductors before they abandoned him and fled as police closed in on the gang. The victim, identified as Issa Ali, was reportedly abducted from his family home at Kabulia in the Nanumba South District between 10 p.m. and 11 p.m. on Saturday, May 23. And he was later referred under police escort to the Tamale Teaching Hospital on the 9th of May 28 and is currently receiving treatment, but his condition has not yet been disclosed. We'll definitely keep a close eye on that. But moving on to the next, the Ghana Education Service, GES, is appealing for calm among striking teachers in the Takwan-Suayem municipality of the Western region following the alleged assaults of some teachers by military personnel. The service says investigations into the incidents will commence immediately and has assured the public that any military officer found culpable will face the appropriate sanctions. Public Relations Officer of the GES, Daniel Fenyi, disclosed this in a telephone interview with 3 News Labour Affairs correspondent in Accra on May 29. Also, Member of Parliament from Okaikwe, I beg your pardon, Central, Patrick Yaobuama, has called for the Minister for Works and Housing to be summoned before Parliament over the persistent flooding on the Accra Cape Coast Highway anytime it rains. Speaking on the floor of Parliament Friday, May 29, 2026, he laments that the flooding frequently leaves commuters stranded and unable to use this stretch, and further appealed to the Finance Ministry to release funds to contractors working on the Accra Cape Coast Road project to help address the recurring problem. To our last story now, GCB Bank PLC is pursuing a regional expansion strategy with plans to acquire one of Liberia's largest banks as it seeks to reposition itself as a cross-border financial institution. And the board chairman, Professor Joshua Labi, disclosed that the bank is in active negotiations to acquire the third largest bank in Liberia, a move that could rank among the most significant outward investments by a Ghanaian bank in recent years. And this brings us to the end of our news summary segment, and over to you, Martin.
Thank you very much. We're going straight to Parliament now, and as you would recall, the big issue of the LGBTQ debate has been ongoing. The minority is pushing to, giving a semblance of support for government to ensure that this bill is passed. But the debate is currently ongoing. We are joining the feed now.
16. Add the following new clause. Mr. Speaker, same is captured at page 39 and it's paragraph XXXIX. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. Honourable members, the new clause is for the consideration of the House. Any further amendment to the new clause? I'll put a question. As many as are in favor say aye. Aye. Those against say no. Honourable members, the new clause is accordingly ordered to stand part of the bill. Yes, clause 17, Chairman.
Regulations.
Mr. Speaker, clause 17, amendment proposed, opening phrase, line 1. Delete may and insert shall within 12 months of the coming into force of this act. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable members, the proposed amendment is for the consideration of the House. Yes, Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, which clause are you amending? Because I had a proposal to delete something in the new clause. That's amendment proposed under clause 16. Add the following new clause: duty to report. And duty to report is now 17 subclause 1. A person who has knowledge that an offense is committed under this act shall report the commission of the offense to a police officer.
I have put a question on the new clause.
You've already put the question on the new clause?
Yes.
Okay. Anyway, it is not harmful because we earlier deleted reference to the Evidence Act. If you look at the new clause 7, subclause 3, this section does not apply to information privilege under the Evidence Act. So I thought that consistent with what we did earlier.
I can only direct the drafters to consistently take care of this. So I will now put a question on clause 17. The proposal by the chairman of the committee in the absence of any other amendment. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. Honourable members, the ayes have it. The proposed amendment by the chairman of the committee is ordered to stand part of the bill. Now I'll put a question on the entire clause 17. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. Clause 17 is ordered to stand part of the bill. Clause 18.
Interpretation.
Chairman of the committee.
Mr. Speaker, clause 18, amendment proposed, add the following new definition. Interpretation for bisexual, line 3, after sex, add and who engages in sexual or romantic activity with a person of the same sex and a person of the opposite sex. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable members, the proposed amendment by the chairman of the committee is for the consideration of the House. I'll put a question. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. The first proposed amendment by the chairman of the committee to clause 18 is ordered to stand part of the bill. Clause 18, amendment number XCII.
Mr. Speaker, clause 18, amendment proposed, add the following new definition. Advocacy means the sustained encouragement or support of an act prohibited under this act. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
It is for the consideration of the House. Any further amendment? In the absence of any further amendment, I'll put a question. As many as are in favor of the proposed amendment by the chairman of the committee to clause 18, say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. The proposed amendment is ordered to stand part of the bill. Yes, chairman of the committee, amendment number XCIII.
Mr. Speaker, clause 18, amendment proposed, interpretation for family values, paragraph A, line 3. Delete gender and insert sex. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable members, the proposed amendment is for the consideration of the House. Any further amendment? In the absence of any further amendment, I'll put a question. As many as are in favor say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. The proposed amendment to clause 18 is ordered to stand part of the bill. Yes, chairman of the committee, amendment numbered XCIV, clause 18.
Again, Mr. Speaker, clause 18, amendment proposed, interpretation for marriage. Delete and insert the following. Marriage means a union between a man and a woman under the Marriages Act 1884 to 1985, Cap 127, whose sexes are determined at birth. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable members, I'll put a question. As many as are in favor say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. The proposed amendment is ordered to stand part of the bill. Now, amendment number XCV.
Mr. Speaker, clause 18, amendment proposed, interpretation for non-binary, line 2, after female, add except intersex. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
It is for the consideration of the House. Any further amendment? In the absence of any further amendment, I'll put a question. As many as are in favor say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. The proposed amendment by the chairman of the committee is ordered to stand part of the bill. Now, Chairman XCVI.
Mr. Speaker, clause 18, amendment proposed, interpretation for intersex. Delete and insert the following. Intersex means a person born with innate variations in sex characteristics, including chromosomes, hormones, gonads, or anatomy, other than binary definitions of male and female. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable members, the proposed amendment is for the consideration of the House. Any further amendment? In the absence of any further amendment, I'll put a question. As many as are in favor say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. The proposed amendment is ordered to stand part of the bill. XCVII.
Mr. Speaker, again, clause 18, amendment proposed, add the following new definition. Romantic relations means any sexual act other than sexual intercourse. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Promotion.
Sorry, Mr. Speaker. XCVII, clause 18, amendment proposed, add the following new definition. Promotion means the active encouragement of another person to engage in an act prohibited under this act. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Our members, the proposed amendment by the chairman of the committee is for the consideration of the House. Any further amendment? In the absence of any further amendment, I will put a question. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. The proposed amendment by the chairman of the committee is ordered to stand part of the bill. Now, XCVIII.
Mr. Speaker, clause 18, amendment proposed, added the following new definition. Romantic relations mean any sexual act other than sexual intercourse. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
It is for the consideration of the House. Honourable members, any proposal, further proposal? In the absence of any further proposal, I will ask the question. As many as are in favor of the proposed amendment standing part of the bill, say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. The proposed amendment by the chairman of the committee is ordered to stand part of the bill. Now, XCIX.
Mr. Speaker, clause 18, amendment proposed, interpretation for plus, line 2, after LGBTQ AP plus, add, but contrary to the binary categories of male and female determined at birth. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable members, it is for your consideration. Any further amendment? In the absence of any further amendment, I'll put a question to chairman's amendment. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. The proposed amendment is ordered to stand part of the bill. Now, I'll put a question on entire clause 18 as variously amended. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. Clause 18 as variously amended is ordered to stand part of the bill. Now, new clause.
Institutions engage in provision of services and support.
Chairman of the committee.
Mr. Speaker, new clause amendment proposed, add the following new clause. Institutions engage in provision of services and support. Nothing in this act shall prevent or limit the lawful duties or functions of an institution. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable members, it is for your consideration. I will then put a question. In the absence of any further proposed amendment, those in favor say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. The proposed amendment is ordered to stand part of the bill. Honourable members, long title. Oh, clause 19.
Consequential amendment.
Chairman of the committee.
Mr. Speaker, no proposed amendments. No advertised amendment, yes.
It is for the consideration of the House. Honourable members, any proposed amendment to clause 19? In the absence of any proposed amendment to clause 19, I will put a question. As many as are in favour of clause 19 standing part of the bill, say aye. Aye. Those against, say no. The ayes have it. Clause 19 is accordingly ordered to stand part of the bill. Now, the long title.
An act to provide for human sexual rights and family values and related matters.
Honourable members, any proposed amendment to the long title? Chairman of the committee.
Mr. Speaker, no advertised amendment.
It is for the consideration of the House. Any proposed amendment? Honourable members, in the absence of any proposed amendment, I'll put a question to the long title. As many as are in favour, say aye. Aye. Those against, say no. Honourable members, the ayes have it. The long title is accordingly ordered to stand part of the bill. Honourable members, this brings us to the end of consideration stage for Human Sexual Rights and Family Values Bill 2025. Before we make progress, let me acknowledge a student from UCC Parliament.
You're listening to 3FM 92.7. So we've just brought you proceedings from the House of Parliament, where the Speaker has just taken a number of proposals and 8 amendments, and they have all now been accepted by the House. So what will happen now is that all of these are still in the consideration stage, so it's likely that when Parliament resumes next week, there's going to be the final part or the last leg of the debate about the proper human sexual rights and family values bill, or what you would know many of us are calling the Anti-LGBTQ bill. And when it is now fully gone through the process of the proposals, then there'll be a final vote, which then will lead to the approval of the bill or the passage of the bill, which will now indirectly mean that Ghana as a country has accepted that issues relating to LGBTQ are not acceptable in the country. And then we'll give you a further breakdown of what kinds of assistance or sanctions are going to be are in the bill that would be used by the law enforcement agencies in case anybody is arrested or accosted as a result of either being publicly declaring their sexual orientation, whether they are gay, lesbian, they are queer, they are transgender. All of that is captured in the law, or what is now a bill and is on its way to becoming a law. If you've been following this conversation, you'll recall that the majority leader, Mahama Ayariga, gave indications that maximum 2 weeks, this bill should be passed into law. So it is still strongly being debated and considered. It looks as though this is one of the bills that have a bipartisan support. And so we are also keeping very close tabs on it to see what would happen in the coming days. Meantime, though, the debate was actually quite heated in the early hours of today when the conversation on it started. It was laid again, or the conversation started yesterday. Many portions of it were read and adopted. So let's listen to some of the key conversations that came up, especially with the majority leader, sharing a thought about why they believe the minority is super interested in pushing this particular bill. And these are the thoughts that he shared with the audience who were there in the Parliament and by extension, all of us who were following this particular debate in the House of Parliament.
Professional media raise strong issues because they think that we are violating the right to free expression. Professionals such as lawyers raise strong issues that we are violating their professional freedom and violating the rights of people to legal services. Then academics, universities. I was on the committee, you remember, the previous Parliament, and these civil society groups made a very strong case. So what the committee is trying to do is to narrowly set out those exceptions where when you speak, you will not be considered as promoting or supporting LGBTQ.
The new bill we wanted Akufo-Addo to pass is now exempting all these people under this clause, including NGOs, including academic publications and for science and medical opinions, Mr. Speaker, including the report of news and current affairs by the media house or journalists in other courses of the journalism. Mr. Speaker, the point we are making here is that if you even see the proposal and the footnote, it said the rationale is to create an exemption for these categories of activity that may otherwise impugn under Section 2. Mr. Speaker, this is just watering down the point that you wanted the Akufo-Addo to sign in 2028, for which reason people had issues. So today it is clear, Mr. Speaker, today it is clear that you are exempting all these people under this bill, which is not the same bill you asked Akufo-Addo to sign.
The provision of medical, surgical, psychological, or counseling services in accordance with accepted professional practice, which exemption was not part of the bill you wanted Akufo-Addo to sign. And F, the reporting of news or current affairs by a media house or a journalist in the ordinary course of journalism, and the performance of a public health functions, including HIV and AIDS, prevention, testing, treatment, and care, which same testament was given by the Ghana AIDS Commission before the full glare of this country in our live telecast that they provide condoms, lubricants, and other aids for persons living with HIV who are known LGBT members, so that they will go about their absurd sexual experiences. And yet this government wants to make exemption under this law. That is not the law we sponsored in the 8th Parliament. That is not the law we are sponsoring today. If the government is minded to pass their own law of a sort, which will grant all these exceptions, the very places we are trying to clamp down on, that can be a separate law. But so long as the Human Sexual Rights and Family Values Bill is concerned, these exceptions are alien. These are not the exceptions in the Ugandan bill that was passed. These are not the exceptions in the Senegalese bill that was passed. These are not the exemptions granted in any of the countries that we are going to host next week, who have passed these laws and whom we are proud to host them in this very chamber. We are planning to host them. When they passed their bill, they didn't give any of these exceptions, because that is where the real problem is. These are the people sponsoring, supporting, making these activities rather attractive behind the scenes and even sometimes overtly. And so if I find it highly problematic, any attempt by this House to push any of these exceptions in, will resist it. And if the House will use their majority numbers to push it through, I, as a sponsor, will advise myself accordingly.
Very well. You are entitled to advise yourself. Yes, Majority Leader.
NDC is passing.
Still listening to 3FM 92.7, and so you had the debate in Parliament where you just had John Ntim Fodjo, who is one of the proponents or sponsors of the bill, raising key concerns about some new exemptions to the law or the bill as it currently is, and saying that these exemptions were totally different, were not captured in the first bill that was sent to former President Akufo-Addo to sign. In the coming days, we'll properly interrogate the differences between the old bill and the current bill, and the progress that we are looking forward to being made regarding whether Parliament will fully adopt and pass it, or they probably would continue making amendments to it before it is passed. 92.7 is the dial, 3FM is the station. You're listening to Hot Edition with me, Martin Asiedu-Dartey. Let's go to some other stories now. And persistent flooding on portions of the Accra Cape Coast Highway continues to raise concerns among commuters and residents, especially during heavy rains, with several motorists often left stranded for hours due to poor drainage and waterlogged sections of the road. The situation has renewed calls for urgent government intervention, as many fear that the recurring flooding poses both safety and economic risks along one of the country's busiest highways. Against this backdrop, Member of Parliament for Kaikwe Central, Patrick Yabuama, is calling for the Minister for Works and Housing to be summoned before Parliament over the persistent flooding in the Accra Cape Coast Highway, on the Accra Cape Coast Highway, anytime it rains. He lamented that the flooding frequently leaves commuters stranded and unable to use the stretch, and further appealed to the Finance Ministry to release funds to contractors working on the Accra Cape Coast Road to help address the recurring challenge. Let's listen to Mr. Omane-Boama, who is a Member of Parliament for Kaikwe Central, who has been raising these very legitimate concerns.
If you look at pictures and videos from the western part of Accra, especially where Honorable Ayariga drives through to Winneba and to Cape Coast, the whole area was submerged yesterday. And it will be very important for us to hear from the Works and Housing Minister on steps that government is taking to get this, the drainage system, the Weija Dam, which was open and people are just homeless in Accra. It's very important that government, through the Minister for Works and Housing, is summoned by your good self to tell the good people of this country what steps government is taking to assuage their plight. I thank you very much. So, Majority Leader, you're always on that road. Ricketts, that's Ricketts route to Cape Coast, and you are sitting, you are not talking. Apam, all that route. The rains, people couldn't drive to Cape Coast. A friend of mine left Accra at 12 p.m., got to Takrady at 10 p.m. It's not a good thing to toy about with. And Atofose must release money to the contractors working on the Accra Cape Coast Takrady Road. He must make releases and stop hiding under the commitment authorization that he's using to stifle everybody in this country. He must make funds available, not to come here and present facts and numbers to the country. He must release money for contractors. Atofose must pay contractors to deliver. All the ministers are suffering.
And you had those exchanges there. Now, responding to the concerns, the Majority Leader, Mahama Ayariga, attributed the persistent flooding to the failure of successive governments to strictly enforce urban planning regulations and building codes in the cities. So let's listen to Mahama Ayariga, the Majority Leader, on this issue of flooding and the lack of the release of funds to expedite work on many of the link roads in the capital that go to other regions.
We tend to have these floods, and the minister usually comes to apprise us of what the situation looks like. It won't be bad for the minister to come and apprise us. So we'll follow up with the minister, and based on his availability, I believe he will be able to come and then apprise us of the developments in that regard. But I know that, it is not just about the Minister of Finance disbursing funds. It's also the failure over many years to enforce all the codes that, this Parliament has passed relating to how we plan our cities, where we develop and where we don't develop, how we make sure that the waterways are protected so that when we have heavy downpours, there will not be obstruction to the waterways, and then there will be flooding. These are all matters that those of us who are in this house have primary responsibility for. And I say so because every single one of us is a member of our municipal, district, and metropolitan assemblies. And as members of the assemblies, it is part of our responsibility to make sure that within our various assemblies, we adhere to the planning codes, we adhere to the regulations pertaining to where to build and where not to build. And if we sleep on the job and we don't pay attention to these issues, these are the consequences that will be visited upon us as a nation. So beyond just, always asking the ministers what they are doing, let's also begin to ask ourselves as members of Parliament, who are members of our various district assemblies, what are we also doing?
Mahama Yariga is Majority Leader in Parliament, and clearly both sides of the House have more or less agreed to the point that we need to improve upon the development agenda of the country, especially when it has to do with urban planning, so that the flood conversation does not continue to be an annual ritual. Every year when the rains come, the conversation about flooding, people being displaced, etc., keeps coming up. So let's stay on that tangent, but this time around we are looking at something that usually coincides with the rains, which is the spillage of the Weija Dam. You would recall that here we spoke about how it is badly affecting some communities in and around the Weija area, those living around Tetegu as well. They've all been affected by the recent spillage of the Weija Dam, which is also operating at optimum capacity, and so they also need to spill, or else the integrity of the dam will come under strong question. And several communities across Accra have also been experiencing flooding over the last few weeks, disrupting movement and destroying property. The situation has worsened with the Weija Dam spillage. Armstrong Goldalogbe is my colleague who has been assessing the situation around the Weija area. He brought a report about how the flood was affecting those living in and around that area. He's back to the community. He's joined us on the phone for a quick update. Armstrong, thank you for joining us. We know that NADMO officials were there to assist with evacuation of some residents. What's the situation today?
Yeah, Martin, so I can report that so far the water is receding. Since afternoon, you see that the places where yesterday was flooded, this afternoon till this evening, the water is gradually receding, where you even see some residents already returning back to their various homes because they've seen that the impact of the spillage water is no more severe as we saw yesterday. Now, I tried to find out what has led to this, and then I discovered that the estuary, some two estuaries that would lead to the free flow of water into the sea, has been dredged and opened so the water can move from the communities into that place. Now, this is something that the various assemblies were supposed to have done long ago before the spillage of the water, but they start to look, and the distraction has been caused. But thankfully, this morning, I'm told from last night to this morning, they've spent time to dredge it and they've opened it now. So if you go to Tetegu now, the low-lying area of all the communities, the water is now flowing free into the sea without much distraction, Martin.
Right, and so you said the waters are receding. Do we have confirmation that the dam will no longer be spilled? Is it that they are also now having fewer waters in the dam, so there will be no need to spill?
Martin, I spoke with the Ghana Water Company. They said they are still spilling. And it may surprise you to know that this spillage has been happening since last year, April, and this flooding didn't happen. But for the coming of the rain, it added up. That's what has led to the flooding. I spoke with the Ghana Water Company. They said they've not stopped their spillage. Currently, the water level is still very high, and they are going to continue spilling. It can even take the next 2 months for the spillage to continue, and that they are not stopping anytime soon. The only thing that has happened now is that what should have been done, which was dredging of the estuaries along the sea area, has now been dredged and opened, so the water is now moving freely into the sea. And this is what people are saying. The assemblies are sleeping on the job. They are not doing what they are supposed to do, and people have to suffer for their doing. And this thing is about time we start naming some of these assemblies so they walk the talk and not just be an assembly, and people have to suffer for things that they've been paying tax for every day, Martin.
Right. And Armstrong, so we know that NADMO officials were there to try and assist. Are they still there?
Yes, this afternoon, of course, as usual, they brought a lot of relief items given to the same assemblies that were supposed to have done the right thing that they did not do, leading to this disaster or leading to this distraction that people within Weija and Tetegu and Ogbojo are currently experiencing. They have now taken custody of the relief items that NADMO brought this afternoon. Hopefully, they will get to share it accordingly to how NADMO has instructed them to the affected victims, Martin.
All right, Armstrong, thank you very much, and do stay safe yourself, and keep bringing us those reports and updates. Thank you for your time. And Joseph Armstrong Goldalagbe is our correspondent who's following the developments in the Weija area and its surrounding communities, where the spillage of the Weija Dam caused quite some damage. It increased the flood waters in the communities, and this has inundated a number of homes. So what Armstrong just told us was that as of April this year, or was it last year, the spillage had been ongoing but very gradual. So the water naturally went through its water course and then towards the sea. But this time around, they needed to increase the volumes that they were spilling because the rains had increased in the northern part of the country, and those waters have come into the dam, for forcing the Weija Dam officials to now have to spill because it had exceeded the limit that they could hold. And that is why we are seeing these increases in the spillage. But we are told that the waters are receding at the moment. Let's engage Richard Amoyate, the director in charge of inspections at the National Disaster Management Organization, NADMO. Mr. Amoyate, good evening. Thank you for joining us on 3FM.
Yeah, good evening. But if you can, the volume is very low.
Okay.
It's hard to hear you, so.
I'll try and speak up. So what is your assessment today? My correspondent who is there in the community just told us that the water levels are receding. Can you confirm this to us, and what's the operation going on today?
Yeah, as I speak now, water levels are receding in the communities that were inundated earlier. 2 days ago, we opened up another way into the sea for a faster flow of the spilled water. But the rains yesterday made it difficult for us. But today, because we have had we've had no rain, things are normal. The water levels are receding. And as I speak to you now, we are on our way to deliver support for victims of the floods in Tetewu and its environs.
Right, and it looks as though there's a lot of sound or operational activity around you, so your voice is a bit muffled. But talk to us about
we are moving to deliver support, relief for those who are affected, so that by tomorrow morning, assessed persons will be supported with the much-needed relief.
Oh, okay. Then let me ask you two final questions. Then you can leave us. You talked about opening a new way for the water to pass. Is that something that has not already existed? That is a totally new creation?
An estuary that exists, and that was taking all the water. But because they were now spilling at a higher intensity, there was the need to open another way so that there will be a faster training of the community.
Oh, okay.
But then when we did that, it also rained heavily yesterday. But as I speak to you now, the levels are receding because of the additional way that we have created.
Right. And finally, what kind of items are you looking at distributing to our compatriots?
Depending on the individuals, we have assessed those who have been displaced, and depending on the needs of the individuals, we will provide relief.
Mr. Yate, thank you so much for your time this evening.
You're welcome.
And Richard Amoyate is the director in charge of inspections at the National Disaster Management Organization, NADMO. And you could clearly tell that there's a lot of work around him. The sirens are blaring to also help them get access to places where they believe people are in need of some items. He says they are distributing, but it is clearly based on a needs assessment. So if they believe maybe what you need is a mattress, that's what you're going to be getting. If what you need is maybe water, that's what they're going to be giving. But it's after they've assessed all those who've been affected by the flooding in the area. And this flooding, according to NADMO, is as a result of two things. The spillage of the Weija Dam, which has been complicated by the rains of the last few days. So ordinarily, if it was just the spillage of the dam, they were sure they could have found a way to get the water to link to the sea without causing as much damage. But he says that the rains of the last 2 days really caused extensive increase in the water levels, which forced people to leave their homes. And for that matter, they needed to go to the area to even help rescue some of the affected people in that community. It begs for further questions why those in that area cannot just leave. Because, I mean, I, as a journalist, for at least the last 10 years, have reported about the Weija Dam spillage and how people are affected. But it seems like a recurring story every year. It begs the question why people would want to risk their lives. And anytime it happens, water levels rise sometimes to the window level of people's homes. So they have to pick all their items as much as possible or clear as many things as they can. And then normally they even end up risking their lives in doing so. But I would keep you posted on how all of this plays out in the coming days. As NADMO says, or NADMO has just confirmed that the water levels are receding. For that matter, they are hoping that people could get back to their homes. We can't tell whether the rains would come anytime soon and whether it's going to force the dam to be spilled again. But as we speak, there is some level of relief and people are returning to their homes. We'll definitely give you updates on this on our website, 3news.com. This is still 3FM 92.7. Stay with us. When we return, we'll take you to the education front, where the Ghana Education Service and the minister in charge of the sector are appealing for the striking teachers to resume work, or at least call off the intended strike so that the negotiations can go on. So, they do not have to strike. And why are the teachers deciding to strike? We'll let you know in a moment. Welcome back to 3FM 92.7. This is Hot Edition. Let's go on to some other stories this evening. And the Ghana Education Service is appealing for calm among striking teachers in the Takwan-Suayem municipality of the Western region following the alleged assault of some teachers by military personnel. The service says investigations into the incident will begin immediately, assuring that any military officer found culpable will face the appropriate sanctions. Currently, members of the Ghana National Association of Teachers, NAT, the National Association of Graduate Teachers, NAGRAT, and the Pre-Tertiary Teachers Association of Ghana, PRETAG, within the Takwan-Suayem enclave have completely withdrawn their services. Public Relations Officer of the Ghana Education Service, Daniel Fenyi, said that the service is taking the matter seriously and will ensure the necessary investigations are conducted.
Indeed, management completely condemns attack on any teacher under our care. We believe that the work of the teacher is already so complex, detailed. They do it with a lot of emotional and psychological presence. And so any threat in the environment, any reason for them to feel threatened and be afraid in the conduct of their work would largely have negative impact in the output and the quality of work of our teachers. And so if any group, any community, any person attacks a teacher, he has attacked the very fabric of the profession. He has attacked the emotions, the eyes of the profession. And so we condemn it in no uncertain terms. We believe that no matter what happens, no matter what takes place, regardless of every disagreement that may come in the course of the work of our teachers, nobody has the right to physically assault, physically attack, even verbally attack our teachers. And so management completely condemns the act. Okay. We also send our strength. We send words of sympathy with the teacher who was involved in such unfortunate situation. We stand strongly with the teacher, and we believe that the issue will be settled amicably. In fact, we are working closely with the teacher unions. In fact, we don't move without them. We are working closely with them to make sure that the corporates are brought to book. We don't agree, and we don't believe that any teacher should feel threatened in the working environment at all. So we'll make sure that the corporates are brought to book. We'll support the security agencies, will support the teacher unions, will support well-meaning stakeholders to make sure that our teachers are safe and they are working in very conducive environments.
Okay.
Yes.
And you heard the voice of the Public Relations Officer of the Ghana Education Service, Daniel Fenyi, asking for calm while investigations commence. This is 3FM 92.7. Stay with us. It's time for the latest in the world of business.
Hello there, good evening and welcome to the business segment here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Coming up, a mixed outlook for fuel consumers in Ghana as National Petroleum Authority NPA adjusts price floors for June 2026. I am Michael Obodu. Details of these and more coming up shortly. Do stay. Thank you so much for your time, and straight into it. And fuel consumers across Ghana face a mixed outlook for the first pricing window of June 2026 as the National Petroleum Authority NPA has announced an upward adjustment in price floors for petrol and liquefied petroleum gas LPG, balanced by a slight drop in the cost of diesel. Ex-pump price for petrol is expected to rise by some 4.2 to 6.2%, while LPG by some 0.59 to 2.249%, while diesel decreases by 1.65% to 2%. This report has the details.
According to the NPA's latest pricing outlook, the regulated minimum retail floor for petrol will rise by 60 pesos to 15 cedis, 20 pesos per litre, up from 14 cedis, 60 pesos in late May. LPG users will also feel the pinch as its price floor takes upward by 32 pesos to hit 13 cedis, 48 pesos per kilogram. Diesel consumers will get a minor reprieve, with its floor price dropping by 32 pesos to settle at 15 cedis, 4 pesos per litre. These adjustments reflect shifting international market dynamics alongside a critical rollback of state interventions. To manage its fiscal space, the government recently removed a 36 pesos per litre subsidy on petrol and slashed its diesel price support from 2 cedis to 1 cedi, 7 pesos per litre. These revised relief measures are locked in for 2 pricing windows, after which they will be re-evaluated against global market conditions. The NPA emphasizes that these figures represent strict mandatory minimums for oil and LPG marketing companies. Final pump prices will likely be higher as individual commercial margins and international trading premiums have yet to be tacked on by local distributors.
And that was a 3 Business News Desk report. Away from the Ghana Insurance Association says local insurers have the capacity to underwrite marine insurance policies for business operating in the country. The association says the industry remains financially strong, with local insurers paying more than 9 million cedis in claims daily. The assurance follows government's decision to intensify enforcement of compulsory domestic marine insurance for all commercial imports under Section 222 of the Insurance Act 2021 Act 1061 from February 1, 2026. The directive is being implemented by the Ministry of Finance in collaboration with the Bank of Ghana, the National Insurance Commission, and the Ghana Revenue Authority. Figures from the National Insurance Commission show that only about 6% of Ghana's imports are currently insured locally, despite the legal requirements being in place for nearly 2 decades. Speaking at the Sanlam Alliance Marine Insurance Seminar, President of the Ghana Insurance Association, Boatima Bafwewa, said the local industry has the potential to meet growing market demands.
Marine has always been a policy that Ghanaians have taken. There's been some focus on the suppliers, insurers, but for Ghana, we have the capacity. We have reinsurers who are also here supporting us. So we have the capacity. We have the knowledge. It's just for us to have the business to be able to exercise the capacity that we have.
Meanwhile, Chief Executive Officer of Sanlam Alliance Insurance, Mabel Pobley, stressed the need for greater public education on marine insurance to support the effective implementation of the law.
Though the law has been promulgated, we didn't think that people have understood what it meant and its impact on trade and business and insurance itself. So this session or workshop is basically to bring people's understanding, create awareness, get the stakeholders within that ecosystems to appreciate what the law is first and how it impacts on our processes, our business, trade, letters of credit and all of that. And that's what we are seeking to do.
And that's how we end the business segment here on Hot Edition. For more stories, please visit our website at 3news.com/business. I am Michael Obodu. Thank you for tuning in. As always, please stay safe. Up next, the sports.
Hello, good evening and welcome to the sports segment here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. My name is Andrew Sefa Bamfo. Let's start off from the camp of the Black Stars because the team have stepped up preparations ahead of their friendly game against Wales on June 2. 22 players out of Carlos Queiroz's 28-man squad are in camp preparing for the tie. Now ahead of the game against Wales, forward Brandon Thomas Asante, who made his Ghana debut 2 years ago and is expected to feature against Wales, says it's a privilege representing Ghana.
Every day we're more and more prepared, and I'm happy to be here, and we definitely want to prepare in the right way to go and be successful, so we feel good. It's always the biggest privilege, you know. I think it's something that since I was young, when I was going to the games, to pray and to believe and to dream of achieving it one day, and now to be here is incredible. I know that there's a lot of people, you know, in Ghana and all around the world that are really wishing us well. So we want to go and do them proud. And I understand how much it means, and it means so much to me personally. So I want to do everything to give us the best chance to progress in the tournament. We don't just want to go there and turn up for no reason. We want to be successful, so we're preparing for that. From the start of the season, before I kicked the ball, I wrote down on a piece of paper that I wanted to be here. And of course, you know, to be able to work in that direction and to be here now is an incredible privilege.
And so that was Black Stars forward Brandon Thomas Asante speaking. Away from the Black Stars, come to the local scene where the final of the 2026 MTN FA Cup will be taking place on Sunday at the University of Ghana Stadium. The final will see Dreams FC, who finished fourth in the Ghana Premier League, take on already relegated Nations FC. We visited the training grounds of Dreams FC, where head coach Winfred Dormon and forward Abdul Salifu were optimistic of a positive result.
Done very well by making the top four, never in the history of this club, and to cap it off with an MTN FA Cup against Nations. Yes, it's not going to be easy because I know Nations, yes, they have been relegated, but believe me, they have told a very impressive story on the journey. Don't forget that they beat Adriana in the semi-finals, the Anos goal. So, yes, we know it's not going to be an easy final, but Dreams FC is getting ready to make sure we deliver on Sunday.
That would be a history for me because I have never been in a FA Cup final, not even to talk about semi-finals or So it will be a good moment for me, yes, to lift the trophy on Sunday. Yes, of course, this group of players, we can even win the trophy, inshallah. Yes, anything can happen. Yes, as far as last season, our seniors went to the semi-finals. We can win it this season. Inshallah, when we win the FA Cup and we go to the Cup, yes, of course, we can do that.
And so that was Dreams FC head coach speaking, as well as Dreams FC forward speaking ahead of the MTN FA Cup final. Finally, before we go, the 2026 Champions League final would also be taking place on Saturday, with Arsenal eyeing a first ever Champions League title in their history, while Paris Saint-Germain are hoping to defend their crown from the last edition. Here are the two head coaches of the side, Mikel Arteta and Luis Enrique, sharing their thoughts before the final.
Well, I think it's the opportunity to own the moment because, as you said, it's the second time in our history that we are here, and we have the opportunity tomorrow to write a new chapter in the history of this football club. And in order to do that, we have to play tomorrow with such a clarity, a lot of courage, and a relentless desire to win. If we have those three aspects, I'm sure that we're going to be close to win. The ambition is bigger. We have one, and we won the second one. And that's all we've been talking about. There has to be a platform to reach bigger destinations and to aim for more. And the TP is capable because he's shown it in the last 2 seasons, the way of three in this competition, what we've done this season in the competition, and I want the players to be so confident that we're going to go into it.
Mikel Arteta, he's great as a coach. You can watch him on the bench. Every single match he's excited. He shows everybody his energy, and he translates that power to their team, to their players, and I can balance very well if you analyze their stats, amazing stats, offensively and defensively. He shows that character every single day. An amazing final, exciting final. They are looking forward to playing that final because the last final they lost, I was there as a supporter of FC Barcelona in Paris. I remember that with my son Pacho, and it was nice because Barcelona won, and I hope Paris can beat them.
And so those were head coaches of Arsenal and then Paris Saint-Germain, Mikel Arteta and Luis Enrique, speaking ahead of the Champions League final, which is scheduled to take place on Saturday, bringing an end to Hot Edition here on 3FM 92.7. For more updates in the world of news, business and sports, join us same time next week. My name is Andrews Sefa Bamfo.